Oh, man. This is not working the way that I wanted it to. Here we go. Here's the overlay. This is TWIS, This Week in Science, episode number 477, recorded on Thursday, August 21st, 2014. How to Train Your Brain. Hey everyone, I'm Dr. Kiki. Welcome to This Week in Science. Tonight, we are going to fill your head with life, dandruff, and a little bit of IQ stuff. But first...
Disclaimer, disclaimer, disclaimer. The things you already have are greater in value than the things you do not possess. While this philosophical-sounding statement may seem like physically impossible hooey at first listen, consider this. The likelihood is that each listener to this show goes about their day-to-day lives leveraging decent dosages of logic along the way. Not just any form of logic either. The greatest gift of the ancient world, scientific logic. It has allowed for societies to prosper and civilization to thrive. It didn't come about easily or by accident. From tea houses in Babylonia to the stonecutters' quarry in Greece, from the mystical prequels to religion to the early astronomers' observations, science was forged, logic by logic, one rational thought at a time, over thousands of years. We are surrounded by such wealth of logic and ability to reason that we sometimes forget how lucky we are. Yet look around and quickly you will notice places upon the earth still today where the fires of logic and reason have been so poorly lit that they offer very little scientific advantage to those who reside there. Know that if you are hearing my voice now, you are living in a much more privileged world regardless of personal wealth or national origin. You have the ability to employ logic, the resources to retain reason, and the wisdom to tune into This Week in Science, coming up next.
I've got the kind of mind that can't get enough. I want to learn everything. I want to fill it all up with new discoveries that happen every day of the week. There's only one place to go to find the knowledge I seek. I want to know what's happening. What's happening? What's happening this week in science? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening this week in science?
Good science to you, Kirsten and Blair and Garth.
Good science to you. Good science to everyone out there. Welcome, everyone, to this week's show, and we have a great show ahead. We are joined by Garth Sundum, author of Beyond IQ, a book that we're going to discuss a little bit tonight. He's going to help make us all smarter and better people, right? I don't know.
Sounds perfect.
Yes. I'll tell you a little bit more about Garth in the second half of the show, but he's going to stick around. He's going to be hanging out and talking with us the whole show. Garth, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Kiki.
You are welcome. We are thrilled to have your expertise and your brain here in the show, because it's all in your head, really.
I have no expertise, but I talk to many people who do.
That's what we like to do.
Yeah. You have expertise and experts is what you have.
Yeah, actually, some ways that's even better.
Yeah.
In scheduling with their assistants.
Now that is
phone calls that they will give me.
All right, everybody, on this week's show, Science News, what is on the docket? I've got stories about life under the ice, how seals gave us TB, and the Force, and rebel piles. What do you have, Justin?
I've got deep sea dandruff, manipulative zombies, Death Star toothpaste, and autistic pruning.
Nice. Blair?
I have animal language, fish brains, and big spiders.
Oh, you're going to give us nightmare juice again. Awesome. Yay. I'm looking forward to that. And Garth is bringing us better. Just better. All right, so let's dive into the science news this week. First, I wanted to talk about life being found a kilometer under the ice. It's not Lake Vostok, but it is another lake down subglacially on the continent of Antarctica. And researchers have drilled a kilometer down, published in Nature just recently, direct evidence of life in that lake. So when I say direct evidence, it's not like they pulled out bacteria. What they're getting is genetic evidence. So they're collecting a big soup of water and going through it, trying to find out what's there and finding genetic sequences. And these genetic sequences tell them what kinds of organisms might be down there. This lake is called Lake Whillans, and it's a dynamic subglacial lake. It has no light to support photosynthesis, and so, as you might expect, there's a lot of evidence genetically that the organisms that are down there subsist on metals, or they're chemoautotrophs is how they're known. So they get their energy not from the sun through photosynthesis, but through other means. Additionally, this lake has temperatures consistently under zero, just slightly below zero. And a pressure, this is what is overwhelming to me, because of the weight of the ice above the lake, there is pressure 80 times atmospheric pressure.
Wow.
So it's at some significant pressure down there.
Yeah. And for those, because it's a kilometer down.
Yes.
For those not familiar with the metric system, that's 1,000 meters under the ice.
Thanks once again for clarifying.
You're
Justin.
so good at metric conversion, Justin.
You are.
Really, it's a gift.
Got a gift. So anyway, this borehole, they bored 30 centimeters down. They employed all sorts of methods, like ultrafiltration, to make sure that they were getting clean water from a clean sample from this lake, and that they weren't putting anything in there, because part of the boring of the hole is they drill down using liquid water to melt the ice as they drill. So you don't want the water that you're using for drilling to come in contact with the sample that you're collecting. So there were some ultra clean rooms, massive filtration, multi-stage filtration systems that were used. Who knows if we contaminated or not, but they seem pretty confident that they did not. The lake contained bacteria and archaebacteria, and some could be identified based on gene databases that we currently have, but most of the microbes are brand new. Microbes we've never even come in contact with before. The most prevalent consume iron, manganese, sulfur, and nitrogen. Yeah, so they're chemoautotrophic, and are a wonderful example of the biological diversity that bacteria, that microbes and archaebacteria can have, and what life on Earth may have been like previously, how it may have evolved to be able to withstand the extreme conditions that they're under in that particular location, to be able to stay there. But it's pretty neat.
Why do they need water for the drilling if you're drilling through ice? You know, I always thought it was as a coolant, or is it to like create friction with the thing you're drilling through, or was it that they were creating water from the ice and it was dripping down into the lake?
Have you ever tried to scoop an ice cream, get an ice cream scoop, and when the scoop is too cold, the ice cream itself is cold, it will freeze the scooper and you don't get the ice cream that you want out. And so if you put hot water on your scooper, it makes the scooper warmer so you can get a better scoop, right? And so this is what the idea behind it. They use hot water so that the drill itself stays warm so it can melt through the ice.
Oh, that is cool. Ice cream technology.
Ice cream technology.
Glacier.
Yeah.
Yum.
Yummy.
Mm-hmm.
And then some really interesting news related to tuberculosis. I have a couple of studies. Tuberculosis, one of One of the worst, most deadliest infectious diseases that is in the world, infects one and kills 1 to 2 million people worldwide each year. How did it get to the Americas? Scientists have debated where it came from, and genetic research that was just published in Nature in a paper called Pre-Columbian Mycobacterial Genomes reveals seals as a source of New World human tuberculosis.
Huh.
Seals. So, Old World, Europe, African continent, other places, Old World had tuberculosis, and pinnipeds, seals, sea lions, they came in contact with sailors, people along the coastal areas, maybe with water from communities along those areas, and pinnipeds came over here and spread it to Native Americans, the native peoples of the Americas, probably beginning in South America. And they found that genomes from humans in Peru dating from about 1,000 years ago provide evidence that a member of the tuberculosis strain caused disease in South America before Europeans arrived. Yeah, so it's interesting.
Did they get it then from eating the seals or getting bitten by seals?
I don't know. This is something I cannot.
This is what I'm wondering.
I can't.
Where my brain's going. From eating the seals or getting too close to the seals?
Yeah, maybe coexisting.
Kissing used to be a rite of passage for young warriors. Yeah.
Yeah, so sometime the whole idea, sometime around the pathogen evolved in Africa about 6,000 years ago, reached Peru 5,000 years later. DNA evidence suggests that it was the seals that did it before the Europeans did. So it's very fascinating. Yeah, you can't blame the colonizers for everything, although it was a lot you can blame them for. And then another study in...
it's just one less. Just one less.
Just one less thing. Yeah.
Just blame them for the seals.
Yeah. Just blame the seals. Poor little seals. Journal Science Translational Medicine finds that there is a protein that is called interleukin 32 that it contributes to maintaining health in people who have tuberculosis. There is a question as to why so many people get tuberculosis, but it remains latent and they don't actually show symptoms of the disease. And it turns out that people who have large amounts, a large concentration of this interleukin 32 plus sufficient vitamin D are able to keep tuberculosis at bay. And that it is this interleukin 2 combined with vitamin D, it is an essential step to keeping the tuberculosis from moving any further into disease state. So it's sunlight, vitamin D. It's an interesting kind of connection there. Yeah. Harvard's studies co-author says our current strategy of antibiotic therapy as well as methods of identifying which patients will develop severe disease have remained essentially unchanged for decades. Our findings of specific markers in the blood that can tell us which people are at risk can help countries focus limited resources on patients who have lower levels of this protein. In addition, this may point the way to new treatments for a disease that greatly needs them. Yeah. So it's cool. And potentially helping in the treatment of tuberculosis for the 1 million to 2 million who die from it each year. And now we can blame the seals. That's all I got. Justin, what do you have?
Oh, my goodness. So a fungus has been discovered deep below the sea. They've been finding this fungus in old coral reefs. They have found it in soils in Hawaii, and it's a fungus that's been found in sediment around some of the thermal vents. So it's kind of an extreme fungus to be able to exist somewhere in the sediments of the thermal vents, right?
Yeah.
What's really remarkable about this particular fungus, Malassezia restricta, is the fungus we are familiar with that causes dandruff. So maybe the seals got it first,
Down there too, yeah.
right? And because it does seem to affect mammals like seals, as well as fish, lobsters, sponges, plankton, and corals that can be affected with this fungus.
How does a lobster get dandruff?
Well, it's not that they get the dandruff; it's that they get the fungus, right? But the fungus that is responsible for most, human dandruff is this fungus, is the same fungus that's being found in thermal vent sediments, right? So this is a pretty amazing connection. But again, it may come down to seals.
Mm-hmm. Just picturing this
That
poor
was not
seal.
supported. I just have to
Poor
say
seal
for everyone
scratching
listening,
his
that's
head.
not supported. That's not supported in the research at all.
No.
No, well,
We're not blaming the seals anymore.
Those poor seals scratching his head, dandruff's coming off, all the other seals swim away from him.
I'm telling you, the ancient tradition of seal kissing caused dandruff and tuberculosis. They went hand in hand.
Oh boy.
Right? Very possible. Another interesting story I came across. Toothpaste has an ingredient that is it's the fluoride, which we normally get from recycled tin, if I'm not mistaken. And that's where a majority of our fluorine comes from that we then put into toothpaste. This study has gone through and done an analysis of the fluorine that is on the Earth and discovered that the only place it can form in this particular way is in the aftermath of a dead star. So the fluorine in our toothpaste that we're extracting from our tin likely formed in the residue of the stars that predated our sun. How amazing is that, right?
awesome.
So we're looking for the origins and connections of things around here in this episode. The origin of the fluoride in your toothpaste came from a dead star that predated the sun that rises and heats the planet. That's just crazy. It's also good at fighting mouth bacteria.
Great at
Also-
fighting tooth decay.
Also, study of zombie ants. Now we're kind of familiar. We've talked about the zombie ants before. It's another fungus that will get into an ant and get it to grab on to a leafy thing and just clamp on. It kind of gives it lockjaw. And it clamps onto that leaf and it doesn't let go. And this fungus sprouts out of the back of its head and then eventually drops down into the forest floor after using all the nutrients of the ant. In an attempt to study this, they were looking over an incredibly large area of, I believe, the Brazilian rainforest. They covered an area of 16, almost 17,000 square miles, and they had discovered 17 ant nests that they were studying. Discovered that 100% of them had ants who were affected with the zombie fungi close to the nest itself. And what's interesting is it seems to be indicating that because if the fungus attacks an ant that's too far away from the nest, it's less likely to be able to find another ant to infect with its brood, with its spores later.
Mm-hmm.
And it can't actually, it doesn't do well inside the nest. Partly ants keep their nest very clean. Ants are all like Virgo about stuff. They make sure that's really nice and neat inside the nest. But also they think there's maybe some other reasons the conditions within the nest aren't very suitable to the fungi growing. But what they also think, though, now is that it's possible that these ants are getting infected and then moving closer to the nest before doing the clamp on to the leaf. Right? Because of the prevalence of these near the nest and not further away, it seems to indicate they're somehow drawn to the location near the nest before doing the death lockjaw clamp onto a plant. and then becoming zombified.
But why? Why would they want to be near the nest?
Yeah.
Well, because again, if you're too far from the nest, it's harder
you're not gonna find more individuals.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and it's not like
Just-
instantaneous. It's not like the fungus grabs a hold of the ant and then suddenly it's like, oh, it's got me, right? So they think there must be somehow the fungus must be forcing the ant to select a location to do the death clamp onto the plant close to the nest. Otherwise, they could just be infected with the fungus, wander far from the nest, clamp on somewhere else, wander into the nest, and the fungus just dies. This seems to be the sweet spot near the exit of the ant nest, and it's
And so if you're infected and you come back, you're sickly, but you've got your job to do as an ant, and you come back to the colony and die near the doorstep, then the fungus is going to sprout and then be able to infect other ants that are coming and going. The ones that stay inside though and die, then those cadavers will be taken outside and then could potentially sprout outside. Yes, it seems as though it would have that there's there's kind of like a sensible algorithm or statistical probability of spreading at a certain range from the nest and a particular probability of encountering the fungus. Yeah.
Says that because they're so close. I love this line here. The zombie fungi essentially create a sniper's alley through which their future hosts must pass by creating that sort of ring around the entrance.
These these zombie ant funguses, these things that get into and transmit themselves, and they have this certain goal-oriented behavior in how they make an ant behave, get to a certain place, do a certain thing. It's just amazing. Yeah, these zombie ants are awesome. Amazing. I'm always grossed out by things like this. This is This Week in Science. Hey, is it time for something else to give you nightmares? It's Blair's Animal Corner.
She loves our creatures, great and small. Biped, millipede, no pet at all. If you want to hear about animals, she's your girl. Except for giant pandas and squirrels that are no closer.
Yeah, I'm so excited to bring you some stories today. I'm going to start right off with a story about fish, about sicklebacks. Sicklebacks are a type of fish where the males, they take care of the young. And what they found is that there's this one type of sickleback called the white sickleback that doesn't. The male does not take care of the young, and they happen to have much smaller brains than all of the other sicklebacks. So is brain size linked to parental care? Well, let's see. So the University of British Columbia, they looked at first males versus females, and they found that the males definitely had larger brains than the females, and the males take care of the babies and the females don't. So then they compared the regular male sicklebacks to the male white sicklebacks, which do not take care of the offspring, and that this happened at a similar time and a similar locus as when the white sickleback evolved a smaller brain. So that indicates that perhaps the sticklebacks have bigger brains to handle the brain power needed to take care of babies.
Interesting thing that this brings up, potentiality-wise, right?
Yeah.
First thing, right? Our humans' brain power mostly derived from the fact that our offspring are totally useless and cannot defend themselves or even walk for years and years? Or is it the other way, right? Like,
So
what is
then
it?
you'd have to do a matrix, and you'd have to look at
Yeah.
every mammal species, because first we have to separate fish from mammals. They're different. But if we looked at humans, we'd have to look at a matrix, take all mammal species, and then plot out brain size in relation to body size, and then plot that on whether they had altricial or precocial young. So precocial young take care of themselves, altricial young are dependent on the parents. So if, as the degree of helplessness rises, the brain of the parents in relation to body size rises, then yes, that could be true. But I don't believe they've done a quantitative study on that yet.
There's a thesis out there waiting for somebody.
Yeah, you're welcome. Just come on TWIS to talk about it. That's what you have to do.
Yeah, and I think beyond that, if there is some kind of determination that yes, if it were found that altricial leads to bigger brain sizes, then you have to start looking at whether or not there's more male or female parental care, whether it's shared parental care, and length of developmental period during which the parents are caring for them. So you might have altricial young, but maybe it's for a month.
Right.
Well, but I mean, you look at the creatures that at least that first jump out to me that seem like they're pretty intelligent. You look at something like an elephant, wolf, any of the big cats. They keep their young around for a really long time. But then the birds, maybe not so long. And there's some pretty smart birds out there.
Well, birds are kind of. We have to look at every type of animal differently too. It's all kind of a different ball game.
Right.
And these fish especially, they looked at a species where the male gives the parental care. This isn't necessarily the case when a female's in charge. We don't know that. This could be a very isolated incident. And what's more, this is actually a degeneration of brain size. It's not that the sticklebacks that take care of the babies, that they evolved a larger brain to do that. It's that these white sticklebacks diverged from all the other sticklebacks pretty recently, about 10,000 years ago, and their brains shrank.
Back down to a size when
we don't take care of our young, and
I don't need this.
Don't need this.
Are there cuckoos? Are there cuckoos that take care of their own young?
So there are. I don't know about cuckoos, but I do know that there have been studies looking at hippocampal size in brown-headed cowbirds or different species of cowbirds. There are several different species. Brown-headed cowbirds are parasitic. There's another species of cowbird in which the male cares for the young, another where the female cares for the young. And they are not parasitic. And so the different studies have actually shown differences in hippocampal size, but that has been what the researchers think is that it has to do with who is searching for nests that they're going to dump eggs into. Who's going around and doing the searching and figuring out where they're going to dump stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
they haven't tied it actually to parental care, but more so like finding nests.
Yeah. So then what do you call parental care? There's lots of things going on here. Right. So what degree of parental care could change brain size? Because maybe if you protect the young and you find food and you pre-digest food, that could all be a lot. There are other animals that provide less. So it's kind of...
Octopus provides a lot of care.
Until they hatch, and then they're out of there usually. They die.
You're watching over eggs, you're watching over kids. It's the same thing. You just hope they don't get cracked.
No. So anyway,
what do you think? What do you think, Garth? Is this something that we should be looking into for humans? Parental care, giving us bigger brains.
Well, I also wonder what sort of penalty for failure the different sexes would have. If the male is taking care of the young, then there's a massive penalty for failure. But if the male is not taking care of the young, then he might as well eat, shoot, and leave, as the book says. But so I don't know that it necessarily takes more brain power to raise young than it does just to keep yourself alive. But if the father happens to have more brain power, then the young are more likely to survive, and the young are likely to have more brain power. So I don't know. I don't know if it's like, I don't know. I'm sure it takes a fair amount of brain power to parent human offspring, but I don't know if it creates intelligent fathers or if intelligent fathers are just more likely to keep their kids alive.
Right.
And I
That's a
don't,
really
Which
good
is a-
point.
Yeah, great
Yeah.
point.
although I don't think it's necessarily relative again, but yeah, more intelligence. I think you have better chance of raising the offspring.
Exactly.
Bigger brain should help that too.
But we've talked many times about how brain size and smarts are not necessarily related too. So it's kind of a whole flawed thing. I don't know. Anyway, food for thought. Yeah, next, animal speech. So I've talked a lot of times about how people thought a specific animal or animals in general aren't saying all that much. With the animal language that they have, they're talking about emotions, they're not having complex conversations, all this kind of stuff. And time again, we're finding out that animal language is far more complex than we thought. And so I have another one of those stories here today. They looked at a bunch of different vocalizations from different animals. They were looking at hyraxes. They were looking at some bird species, and they found they were looking at these languages in relation to a model, a mathematical model, and they were looking specifically for the Markov process because they believe the Markov process means that the vocal elements are dependent on a finite number of preceding vocal elements. So the process is random, and they're not picking what quote-unquote word comes next as carefully as we would in human language. So there's certain kind of choose-your-own-adventure paths you can make in these animal languages. And they found that these languages did not match the Markov process pretty much at all. It matched a lot more what would come out when you tried to look at the human language, which is called context-free grammars. That means certain grammatical rules apply regardless of context. And so there is a lot more variability in what sounds come after other sounds. And so animals seem to have a lot more to say than scientists thought before.
So it's more of it, like scientists thought that it was going to be just more kind of random generation. You've got a sequence of sounds, and it's going to have a certain pattern overall, but there'll be just random syllables in there that don't really mean anything. And now we're finding that it's not so random, and they're actually saying stuff.
Oh, they're saying stuff, which I'm not surprised at all.
I'm not surprised at all either.
We found out before that dolphins have names. We found that hyrax have syntax and accents depending on where they're from. I'm not surprised. Just more. Yeah, go ahead.
It'd be funny to look at that with like, we think about human languages and we also think about music as a language, and it'd be so interesting to look at animal language compared to something like jazz improvisation, because there are choose-your-own-adventure paths through that as well. I mean, if you listen to someone play, you'll hear the same phrasings over and over, and there are things that precede other things, and there are things that follow other things. And I wonder if there could be a comparison between animal language and some musical processes we use.
Wow. Yeah, that's super interesting. Yeah, to see. Because also different improvisers have different methods. So they would have different patterns, and they would have different ways of choosing their own adventure. So it could be very interesting to see, that versus kind of.
But that's interesting. It's not a context-free language.
Yeah.
Because you're improvising in context, and when you're moving from one type of chord to another type of chord, that is the context in which your language exists. It's not like you have a syntax necessarily outside of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Right.
anyway. Cool.
Yeah, it is. Listening to improvisational jazz sometimes it is like listening to a conversation, because there is communication. You don't know exactly what the musicians are saying, but you can feel it, and you know that they are following each other, and there is communication there that is complex. So, absolutely think we have given somebody another PhD thesis tonight.
Yeah. I don't think this one will, though. This last story I have is just kind of fun and scary. So, remember our friends, one of my dear friends, the orb weaver spider?
No,
Oh,
do love
yes.
them.
Yes,
They're
we talked
beautiful.
much about the orb weaver spiders. Well, it turns out when they live in urban areas, they're larger and they're usually more fecund.
Meaning they have more babies.
Yes.
So there's more, just more orbs weavers to go around.
You cannot run from the orb weaver spider.
Nowhere to run to, baby. No.
The University of Sydney, they looked at the effect of urbanization on these spiders. And usually, near humans, animals shrink or they leave. They don't do as well, or there's more pressure because of all these humans. Well, they've shown that spiders had smaller bodies in areas with more vegetation and larger bodies in areas associated with urban development, which they found by which they indicated the urban development by hard surfaces. So they were looking at vegetation versus hard surfaces. Hard surfaces, larger bodies. Additionally, they found their reproductive ability measured by ovary weight. How do you measure the weight of an ovary from an orb weaver spider?
I would love to know that.
Yeah. I
A
don't
lot
know.
of
I
hard
didn't look in the
science
methods
as well.
area of this. I should look in the methods area in the break and see if I can figure it out of this paper. But many have, they increased in, the ovary weight increased in higher socioeconomic areas.
Huh.
So basically, this is one of those things where animals, for every loser in kind of a
Wait.
stress,
Spiders are
there's a
bigger in
winner.
the suburbs? Is that what? Wait.
No, they're bigger in more urban areas versus more urban areas. So if you think about it, usually more competition, more stressors, animals shrink. But if you think about it, sometimes that means that the animals that do make it in the urban environment have less competition because all those other animals had to leave.
I'm sure there's less stuff, on a city street trying to eat spiders than there is out in the wilderness between cities. That just makes sense, right?
And if you think about the fact that wherever there's pipes and electricity and all this kind of stuff, there's usually some sort of artificial light. There's also often a slight rise in temperature, which for an ectothermic animal is usually a good thing, makes them get larger.
So, yeah, I wonder if the temperature has something to do with it, because I wonder in urban areas, I would think there would be fewer insects as well, because you have less vegetation. There would be fewer insects. That would be less food for spiders. But if there's less predation, less competition.
And if you build your web near a street light, you're going to do quite well.
You'll do fine. It's true.
Yeah, but I wonder what the concentration is per, square kilometer or whatever. So they're bigger and they're having more babies, but are the babies living?
Right.
Or is it that you have to be a big darn spider because you got to kick some other spider butt in order to survive? What is the spider mass per square kilometer? Is there more spider energy in this system, or is there less spider energy in this system? Overall, I mean, they're bigger, there's more babies, but...
The question that we must ask ourselves is do we include Spider-Man in that analysis?
I was looking for a way.
Does Spider-Man have ovaries that a person could weigh?
No. No. I don't believe so. He would have male organs, though, which could potentially be indicative of something as well. Spider-Man and the spiders doing what they can. All right, everybody. It's time for us to take a short break, and we will come back after a couple of words to talk with Garth Sundum about his book, Beyond IQ, and how all of us can just get out of this IQ rut we're in and live more efficiently, better, happier, stronger lives. Yes, this is This Week in Science. Stay tuned. Hey everybody, TWIS is looking for your support. How can you support This Week in Science? Well, we have swag, got merchandise, stuff that you can buy and wear the TWIS logo emblazoned all over you. You can even put TWIS on a stamp and mail it to somebody. It's true, we have a store. It's called the Zazzle Store. And if you go to twis.org and look for the Zazzle Store link in the main header bar, you can go to our store, or you can go to zazzle.com/thisweekinscience. Go through twist.org, though. It's really easy. We've got tote bags, we've got T-shirts, we've got trucker hats, mugs, stamps, Christmas ornaments. We've got just about anything that you would potentially want to put a TWIS logo upon. Unfortunately, we don't have lab coats. That is unfortunate, but maybe we'll work on that. In the meantime, twist.org, Zazzle Store, buy some stuff. If you're not into the stuff thing, but you want to support us, we also do take donations, and we are accepting donations a couple of ways. First, we accept PayPal donations on our website. We've got little pink and yellow buttons emblazoned on just about every page on our site. So if you go to twist.org and look for the PayPal donation buttons, it'll make it nice and easy if that's your style. The second way that we are taking donations as support currently is through Patreon. Patreon is kind of like Kickstarter, but for media producers like us. And so you go to Patreon, patreon.com/thisweekinscience. That's patreon.com/thisweekinscience. And figure out how much you want to support us per episode. At the end of the month, you will be charged for all of the episodes and the total amount. So if you support us at the $3.14 level, see how I did that? $3.14 level, you will be charged for 4 episodes, so 4 times 3.14, whatever that is, and you will receive a gift of one of our wonderful, where is it? One of our TWIS patches. We've got TWIS patches, and you'll get a TWIS patch in the mail, and you can put it on your stuff. It's kind of a nice way to support us, and we give you a little gift in return. So you have Patreon or PayPal, whichever way you choose to support us. We really appreciate it. All of your money goes to supporting what we do, our pays for our bandwidth, our hosting, fun things that we try to do for the show, our equipment that we need, maybe a new backdrop for Blair. I don't know, but it helps us do this and keep it going. And without you, we really could not do it. If you cannot afford to donate, to buy, or anything, you can help us just by telling your friends and your family about This Week in Science. Use your social networks for science. Tell them about TWIS. Spread us far and wide. We want to be just like your favorite science virus. Spreading everywhere. Anyway, we really do thank you for your support. We could not do this without you.
And we're back with more This Week in Science.
Yes, we are, and we are joined by our wonderful guest, Garth Sundum. He writes books, speaks, and blogs about science, math, and the brain. He currently blogs at GeekDad, Science20.com, and PsychologyToday.com. He was pummeled on the Hotties versus Nerds episode of the gladiatorial game show Wipeout. Sorry to bring that one up. And is a TED Ed speaker, a former contributor to the Science Channel. We got to get media trained together for that. That was fun. And he plays poker. He likes poker a lot. He calls himself an aficionado. I will not be playing you in poker. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me. Thanks for that lovely introduction. But I will. I've got to bury that Wipeout thing in my bio somewhere. Oh.
So it never raises its ugly head again.
Write 4 more books, and then there won't be room for it.
Yeah.
I agree.
Just 4 more. That's it.
4.
Okay.
You've only written 6 so far, so
Yeah.
I mean the list is still short. What? Garth, IQ. Okay, your book currently, Beyond IQ, Scientific Tools for Training, Problem Solving, Intuition, Emotional Intelligence, Creativity, and more. Before we get started, let's just talk about IQ. We've talked about IQ, the intelligence quotient.
So I don't want to defame IQ. It's actually a really nice measure. The thing is that it is so genetically determined. It's like 86% genetically determined. And then our school system does such a darn good job of training the rest of it that by the time you're like 18 years old, it's pretty much fixed. You're only going to wiggle your IQ a couple points either direction by the time you're 18. So IQ is great. It's super important. It correlates with a lot of things we would like. It also correlates with some things we don't like. We could talk about that in a second. But if you want to get better, you got to look at things other than IQ. You can train your insight. You can't train your IQ. You can train your problem-solving skills. You can even train your wisdom. But IQ ain't actually going to go anywhere.
That's so.
Well, this is actually very reassuring. For somebody who consistently scores really well on the stupid test. I like the fact that it's not going to go away. Like, I'm not, just because I haven't, read a book today, IQ isn't going to vanish on me tomorrow.
Well, check this out. It actually is going to vanish.
No!
Yeah, I'm sorry. I know. I hate to say that, but check this out. So, as you age, your crystallized knowledge, the things you know, your Jeopardy facts, start to go up, but your fluid intelligence goes down, starting at about age 28.
Well, that was a while ago.
Yeah.
Until you reach somewhere in your 60s, these things kind of balance each other out. You know more, but you can do less with your brain, and they balance out until you're in around your mid 60s. There are some things you can do to protect your IQ further than that, but the flavor of IQ changes as we age.
So Garth, this helps, this information, because I didn't take my first IQ test until I was somewhere in my mid-30s, which means it was even higher before. Fantastic! I can now add some, probably a backtrack rate of decline. I can add some points onto the test numbers. This is good news.
Well, I fully support that approach. However, it's not necessarily borne out by the science. I'm all for adding, padding the points of your IQ, for any reason that is needed.
It's purely for ego. That's the only thing I use that number for.
That's all.
I've never been able to apply it anywhere else.
But the flavor of your IQ is a changing. The time of your IQ is a changing. And it's becoming more crystallized and less fluid as you age. Unless you stay social, stay finding new experiences, and do things that are good for your heart, because whatever is good for your heart is also good for your brain.
Yeah, so in one of the chapters you have exercise 32, a cognitively kind lifestyle.
Yeah. So you know, the headline there is that your brain likes oxygen and nutrients, and your heart provides your brain with oxygen and nutrients. So anything you can do as you age that helps your heart will also help your brain. So, you know, the whole eat well and exercise thing not only keeps you physically healthier longer, but it keeps you cognitively healthier longer as well.
Yeah, there are people who argue that we should really live based on cycles, and that we should do everything at a very specific time. So sleep a certain number of hours, go to sleep at the same time every day, wake up at the same time every day, eat breakfast the same time every day, exercise at the same time every day. That doing things in a very specific, repetitive, patterned way is actually best for our cellular efficiency.
You know, there's a lot of work on that. For a previous book, I chatted with this guy, Sachin Panda down at SOC, who is super cool, and he looks at circadian rhythms, and specifically he looks at the efficiency of energy processing. He looks at DNA damage in mitochondria, and he shows that if you force your mitochondria to process food while they are also replicating themselves, that there's a higher level of DNA damage. But if you can let your mitochondria predict when you are going to eat, then they cycle themselves so that they are not replicating while they are processing the stuff you're taking in, and they have a lower rate of DNA damage. However, you know, the whole cycle thing. So my biggest goal for this book is, you know, the idea for this book came from living in Boulder, Colorado, where there are a lot of crystal healing therapies going on in the world, and everyone's saying, oh, you have to live your life this way, you know, to attain whatever you want to attain or whatever. People are talking about these topics like wisdom and emotional intelligence, and finally I got fed up. I'm like, yo, I don't want to do a wishy-washy take on all of these subjects. So I ended up just calling up the scientists, you know, going through all the papers, figuring out who the experts were, getting them on the phone, and trying to get a hard science take on these things like wisdom that have been done in such a wishy-washy way before. So I hope that when we say the word cycle, let's keep it scientific here, yo.
Right. We're here for the science.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you were mentioning wisdom.
Hold on.
Wait. What?
Pause the tape.
Wait, what?
This is something very interesting to me, actually. For somebody who wanted to run away to the Naropa Institute of Jack Kerouac disembodied poets, right? This is where I wanted to. I ran there, and then there was like a $10,000 fee to join the school. And I was like, okay, I'll read some books. I'll be all right. But this is something that occurs to me in reading a lot of ancient wisdom, parables, and stories, and other things, is that a lot of it, which is then later turns into ritualized things, it turns into dogma, it turns into religion later, starts out as basic, simple understandings of logic. Really good, basic pieces. This actually was the intro to the show today. All of it sort of begins there with the ancient mystics. And okay, if we whirl around for 2 hours and then concentrate on this subject, we might have a different perspective than we did before. Yeah, absolutely. You had a different perspective. That doesn't mean that logic that you pulled from there is connected to whirling around and thinking about something. It gets separated. So what happens in a lot of, and I agree, the wishy-washy wisdoms of the world, is that they forget that the thing that they were pulling from the essence of the mind is that logic that's now already there. Now that it's out, you don't need to recreate that same scenario to get it. You can think of it in different ways. You've now created the abstract of logic. And once you have the abstract of logic, you can apply it to other things instead of that one thing ritualistically, repetitively. If that made sense to anybody listening.
Check this out. So how do we? So okay. First of all, wisdom is one of the most written about ancient subjects, and it is one of the least studied modern subjects. I don't know where the disconnect there happened, but it is the case. One of the things that has been studied are all of these ways, these folk ways that we imagine gathering wisdom. So does age create wisdom? And does suffering create wisdom?
Hmm.
Check this out. There's a cool relationship there. Do you become a wise old person, or do you become an old fool? And so, as you would expect, the more experience overall, the more wisdom. But when they looked at the flavor of this experience, you would imagine, our pop wisdom says that the more suffering, the more wisdom, correct?
Right.
That's only the
Can.
case if your negative experiences are counterbalanced by more positive experiences. So yes, age creates wisdom, and the accumulation of experience creates wisdom, but it's not only negative experience. It has to be counterbalanced by positive experience in order to actually become wisdom, as opposed to sort of old
Cranky pessimism.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
And I guess what I was saying too is that the pursuit of ancient wisdoms, or through whether it's through age or suffering or experience or some sort of ritual, was initially to create practical knowledge, so that we could have useful knowledge in the world. And we have produced so much useful knowledge that I sometimes wonder if the old ways of wisdom, the old things that are attributed to wisdom, seem really mundane. If you look at the ancient Sufi stories that are learning and teaching stories, a lot of them are basic human observations, psychological studies, and some sort of, basic logics that we now kind of take for granted. It's sort of more everywhere now, right? And so it's kind of hard to beat up the source of much logic and rational thought in the world, but at the same time, if it's abandoned its own product in pursuit of the way in which it achieved it, then it's kind of no longer practical knowledge that's being produced.
Well, I would separate logic from wisdom, and that's the thing, man. Writing a book like this, the biggest challenge was, everything's all mashed up together in your head, and then people try to pull them out into sort of distinct constructs. So yes, there is a very cognitive component of wisdom, but there are additional components as well. So check this out. There was a study where, there was a study, and it was just after an election, and they took extremely politically opinionated undergrads, and they asked them if the world, was coming to an end because their candidate had lost. They asked half of the people to reason from the perspective of Icelanders, and half of them to reason from the perspective of themselves. And of course, the people who reasoned from a perspective outside of their own saw that the world wasn't actually going to end. They were more likely to sign up for a collaborative political discussion group at the end of the study. One component of wisdom is looking at any situation you are in from outside your perspective. So they did another study where a simple conversation with a significant other creates more wise decisions. There are things you can do to boost your wisdom, which is kind of odd.
And I would also say, this is not an obvious human condition. This, being able to think from a separate perspective, took thousands of years of wise men meeting together, hearing each other talk, to go, oh, yeah, there's more than one way to look at this. Which is what the brilliance of Socrates is, just this. Socrates would never argue the same issue twice from the same point of view. He would even sometimes have to argue himself for something he had just said.
Well, and he had a beard.
And
Yes,
he had a beard.
which you could do this with, which also made people go, oh, yeah, he must be thinking deeply.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of talk recently. We've got these social networks and technology, like Facebook, for instance. There was a recent release of information that they are manipulating us based on, what we click, what we like, what we don't touch at all. The things that we like they have an algorithm that decides whether or not they're going to give us more Huffington Post or more BuzzFeed or more of our own friends, whatever, or more positive experiences in our feed or more negative experiences in our feed. I recently decided to try an experiment in which I'm not liking things anymore. I'm not actually clicking the like button because first, I think just scrolling through and clicking the like button, it's like a rat tapping a lever, and there's not a lot of thought involved. There's not time for cognitive processing involved. And now if I like something, I'm going to go into the comments and actually write like, or I'm going to write a comment about why I'm appreciating what somebody has posted, and actually try and have a social experience online that is more true to real life and in which I actually give my brain time to process information that is being fed to it.
Interesting. There was a reporter that recently went through, and I think for only a 48-hour period, liked everything.
Oh, I read that study. It was terrible.
Drink coffee and just liked everything and anything that came through his feed. And it was very much like once a couple of those levers in the algorithm were pulled, liked one speech by a Republican candidate. All of a sudden, more and more right-wing information, politically right-oriented information started coming up and needing, and he was liking everything. And it was just very interesting. He was saying the directions his feed took after liking everything was very directed based off of just a few of the things that happened to be there in the beginning.
Well, check this out. So I'm going to devil's advocate a little bit here, and I'm not even sure I really believe what I'm about to say. But
perfect.
Go Socrates, go.
With that in place. So after doing all of these interviews, one thing I came out with is I wouldn't diss the thinking that goes on beneath your consciousness. And again, I don't want to sound new agey, but our powers of insight and intuition and instinct are not to be defamed. And I think that as you go through your Facebook feed, you may subconsciously know what you like before you consciously know what you like. Mm-hmm. And I think that the goal of all of those lovely Facebook engineers is to be one step ahead of your cognitive brain. So they look at what your instinct and what your intuition says, maybe even before you do.
Right.
So you're going through and you're clicking this stuff based on instinct. And what they're doing is they're applying a very cognitive algorithm to that and saying, okay, we know what you want to see cognitively, and we're going to show it to you. Before you could do that on your own cognitively, they're going to do it for you.
Right. But then, so devil's advocate, hat taken off. If people want to put willpower into their time use and not get sucked into the social media for as long, maybe not allowing themselves to go as much on instinct and to enact other cognitive measures.
So there are two takes on willpower.
Yeah.
One is that it is an unlimited resource, and the other is that it is a limited resource. Now, the limited resource people have looked in the brain, and they have watched, they've given people willpower-sucking tasks, and they've taken a look. And what willpower draining out of your brain looks like is a literal loss of glucose. Willpower burns glucose. When they give people the lab equivalent of a Slurpee, willpower goes up. Now, another way for willpower, another way to boost your willpower is simply to believe that it is an unlimited resource. Another study...
That's awesome. I believe I have willpower.
And funny, so they taught, of course, two groups of freshmen. One group they taught that willpower is limited, and the other group they taught that willpower is unlimited. And they could see very stark mechanical differences in the way these two groups went about studying come finals time. The group that thought that willpower was unlimited would sit there, dig deep, and find willpower. And the the group that thought that willpower is limited would say, "Oh, I'm out of willpower. I got to take a break. I'm out of here. I'm going to go do something, and I'll come back to this."
Wow. So it's the willpower placebo effect.
Yeah, totally. Oh, man, no, that's another thing not to diss is the power of the placebo. And
Right.
in most cases, anything that you believe will work for your body and your brain will work for your body and your brain.
So in your book, you've got exercises. There's just exercise after exercise after exercise. Do you do these things now regularly? Are you?
Oh, yeah. So you know what I like?
Do you feel boosted?
Some of these exercises are cross-country skiing, and some of them are downhill skiing. In that some of them are horribly painful and build your muscles over time, and some of them are really fun and are more sort of skill-based. So the one that I actually do are these remote association problems in the insight chapter. So I get up really early in the morning. I've got 2 little kids, and so I get up at about 5:15, and I get my French press, and I go sit there in my converted garden shed, and watch the squirrels fight for supremacy on the back fence, and type. And in order to get myself in a brain space where I can type, I've got to feel a little bit. You can hear my dogs in the background. Gus, not a lot of people work.
Woof woof. He's like, I want to talk about something here. Can we talk about those squirrels?
Well, hey, let me just stop. What is that?
Squirrels got him really excited.
I know. You said squirrel. He's like, what? What? Squirrel?
There's dog cam here somewhere. Oh,
hello. Hey, cute dog.
So, what word forms a compound word or common phrase with the words, let me see, hat, black, and notch? There's one. What word? And so the trick now is to inhibit the false whisperings of insight just as much as I am trying to inhibit the sound of my dog barking.
Right.
And I'm stuck on Odd Job with Hat. I'm stuck on the James Bond villain Odd Job, and I've got to inhibit that false insight, and I've got to inhibit my dog barking. So hat, black, and notch. N-O-T-C-H, notch. What word goes with those? And maybe if you think of somebody doing a song and a dance with a cane, you'll come up with this hat.
Bowler? No.
I'm thinking top hat.
Top hat.
Black top.
Black top. Oh.
Top notch. So,
I see what I see what you're doing there. Got it.
Okay, so with insight, it seems like a process of creation.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, insight is a process of inhibition, of blocking everything else out. There's not much you can do to increase the volume of the voice of insight, but there is a lot you can do to decrease all the surrounding noise. Researchers see in the brain when people are solving problems with insight, what they are doing is not calling up something. What they are doing is muting other things. They're muting other parts that would block the voice of insight.
Oh, that's interesting.
I
Wow. Do you think you're becoming more insightful?
And then realized that's not one word, and then I went to gunslinger.
I don't know. It's funny. I'm using tricks well, like an incubation period. That's something that is people it's sort of standard knowledge, and it really does work. The back of your brain will continue to work on insight problems far after the front of your brain has given up.
Mm-hmm.
So an incubation period, if you can't come up with a word that melds with, what was it, hat, black, and notch,
Yeah.
give it a couple hours, and then, you know, all of a sudden it'll wallop you. So I talked to this writer here in town, this guy Mark, who is a crime writer, and he had written a bunch of crime books, and he had this crime book all laid out. You know, he knew exactly where the thing was going, and he got to, you know, the middle of this book, and he was kind of not happy with this crime book going the way all of his other crime books had gone. You know, the caper thing, you got to set it up and knock him down. Sat down at his computer one morning and just got walloped by this insight of where his book should go, typed 15,000 words and was done with the thing. And it's really, it was a really creative, yeah, I know. If all the writers out there will know what 15,000 words mean.
Yeah.
This is what Nietzsche said about genius. Is genius doesn't happen in this flash that comes in the instant and is downloaded instantly available to the genius and the creative or the artist. It's something that they've been processing in their subconscious for a really long time, but just culminates once it's finished, and then they have access to it.
Oh, so check this out. So that reminds me of studies of creativity. And creativity is another one of those things that you think springs, you know, fully formed from the ether. But in fact, you know, creativity is the novel connection of existing information in the brain. Mm-hmm. So it's a new way of connecting these things. What many people have shown, this is not, you know, brand new knowledge, but what many people have shown is that you have to load these knowledge chunks into your brain. Creativity does not spring fully formed from the ether. Creativity is the connection of these things that you have already loaded into your brain. Now, maybe that argues for a diverse liberal arts education because you're loading a lot of diverse things into your brain, and so maybe you can make novel connections among them.
Right.
But there is a strong component of expertise in creativity. There's also huge danger in expertise as well, in becoming rigid and depending upon the solutions of the past that have always worked. But creativity can be seen as a type of very rare, flexible expertise.
So with the things the exercises that you've put together and the different types of training for different intelligences, you could say, can they work together, or if you work one, is another one not going to work so well?
So that is a huge, huge question in intelligence research as a whole, and that's the question of transfer. So, you know, the holy grail of IQ research is to find a find a training test that will not only train itself, but will transfer to other things.
Right.
Now, what you
like
find...
Poker?
Like poker.
So what you find in anything is that any test trains itself, right? Like anything you do, you get better at. That's true for Scrabble. That's true for... there's a famous study of Tetris. So, you know, they're trying to train, you know, visuospatial skills or whatever by playing hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of Tetris, and people got really, really good at Tetris. And that's sort of the moral of that story. So what does transfer? There are very few training tests that have shown transfer past the test that they are meant to train. Now, okay. Let me just take a really quick step back, because there are a lot of things that you would like to just train, right? Like you would like to just train creativity, and you would like to just train wisdom, and you would like to just train, you know, many skills, insight and focus and willpower, whatever. The only real test that generalizes, that transfers to fluid intelligence is working memory training. There's so much that goes on in your working memory that if you can make that better, all of your thinking kind of gets better. I'm sure people can Google this. There's this thing called the N-back test and the dual N-back test. So it's like this string of information, It's like a string of symbols or a string of Star Wars characters or whatever, and you got to tell me what was 3 ago, and also what was 2 ago. So if you are monitoring these information strings and holding them in the front of your brain, you get better at that. That skill can actually increase your intelligence. It's the only thing so far that people know that will.
Good to know.
Bungaman in the chat room says Tetris skills directly influence one's ability to pack for a move. I would totally agree with that. I feel as though I'm playing Tetris every time I filled up a U-Haul. It also kind of reminds me, though, what you're saying about a study we covered years ago where they did that. They taught the students, one group of students, how to derive the amount of volume of water lost when a swimming pool is empty. Or filled up or something, right? And they taught another group of students the abstract math first and then showed them the problem with the pool, and they were able to solve it. But then, when they threw other problems at the two groups of students, the one that had learned about the volume of water in swimming pools didn't know how to tackle the other problems, but the one that had learned the abstract ability or abstract formula could apply it to many other things.
Yeah, so a lot of what we know about problem solving comes from the study of physics, or not the study of physics, but the study of how people solve physics problems. It's a nice place to study it because you have physics professors and you have physics freshmen, and you can look at how these two groups solve problems differently. So first of all, just right off the bat, physics professors spend 3 times the amount of time. They spend about 75% of their problem-solving time elucidating the initial problem conditions, whereas physics students jump straight into trying to solve the problem. It's like falling down through a decision tree of equations and hitting your face on every branch on the way.
Not always necessary.
Not always necessary to just go to, oh my god, there's an inclined plane. Let me try this equation. Physics professors spend more time on the front end of a problem making sure they understand the problem constraints. And then they categorize problems. So physics freshmen categorize problems based on the surface features. They'll see a pendulum, or they'll see an inclined plane, or they'll see, springs, or and they'll categorize the problems based on what they see. The physics professors categorize problems based on the theory that would eventually be used to solve the problem. So, boy, where am I going with that? Where I'm going with
they're focusing on the abstract before they're trying to apply it. Yeah. And that's one of those things, too, that you would think that, well, and it may become, as these researches are done and we learn how we're actually solving the problem versus how we're teaching to solve them, that informs education, and hopefully education improves because of it.
We can only hope.
We can only hope.
Only hope. We are coming to the end of our time. We've got a few quick stories that we're going to blurb out.
Wait, we didn't get to talk about poker. How did we get to this?
We have a post show. We can talk about poker after
the mathematical system. Who knows?
Because I've got a system that I'm willing to share.
I have one quick question.
Quick question.
Are you teaching your children perfect pitch right now?
Oh, right, because I read about that. Yeah, so I am a serious music geek, and I hope that I am not the epitome of a hyper-motivated activity parent, but yes, my kids are in violin, and I think violin is excellent for pitch. Pitch is
Nice.
my most important takeaway from all of music.
I'm referring to this book right here, Brain Trust. There's a
Great book.
Where it says how to teach your children perfect pitch.
Yeah, that's actually pretty legit. The lady we interviewed for that is super solid.
And that might not be the only thing this is good for. This is a study out of University of Leeds titled "Tickling Your Ear Could Be Good for Your Heart."
Ooh.
Yeah, stimulating nerves in your ear could improve the health of your heart, these researchers say they've discovered. Team at the University of Leeds used a standard TENS machine, like those designed to relieve labor pains, to apply electrical pulses to the tragus, a small raised flap, the front of the ear, immediately in front of the ear canal, which, if you can watch it, I'm sort of
Some
generally
people get
pointing
it
about.
pierced.
Really? That seems like well, I guess you could.
Yeah, some people
That
get
seems
it
like a
pierced.
more nervy part than the cartilage, but
Yeah.
yeah. He applied electrodes to the ears of 34 healthy people and switched on the TENS, a transcondylar something electrical nerve stimulator. About 15-minute sessions. They monitored the variability of subjects' heartbeats and the activity of the part of the nervous system that drives the heart. Monitoring continued for 15 minutes after the machine was switched off. The researcher Jennifer Clancy, University of Leeds School of Biomedical Sciences, said the first positive effect we observed was increased variability in subjects' heartbeats. A healthier heart does not beat like a metronome. It is continuously interacting with its environment, getting a little bit faster, a little bit slower, depending on the demands upon it. Unhealthy heart is more like a machine, constantly banging out the same beat. We found that when you stimulate this nerve, you get about a 20% increase in the heart rate variability. Second positive effect was in suppressing the sympathetic nervous system, which drives heart activity using adrenaline. We measured the nerve activity directly and found it was reduced by about 50% when we stimulated the ear. This is important because if you have heart disease or heart failure, you tend to have increased sympathetic activity. This drives your heart to work harder, constricts your arteries, and causes damage. A lot of treatment for heart failure is to try to stop that sympathetic activity. Beta blockers, for instance, block the action of hormones that implement these signals. So using TENS, we saw a reduction of the nervous system's activity there itself.
Yeah, so it's the vagus nerve, which is inhibitory to the sympathetic nervous system, and that's going to be changing your blood vessel diameter, lessening constriction, allowing more blood to flow. It's going to reduce your heart rate usually. It's going to it has the vagal reflex has a lot of impact on our bodies, and it's very well known, and there are different ways that you can stimulate it. I guess if you want to try and stimulate the vagal system, you could use electricity. That works. That's fine, I guess. I mean, there are easier ways to do
I'm
it.
just glad you pronounced Vegas and vagal, because I would have been pronouncing them differently.
How about the vasovagal?
I was gonna go more
vasovagal.
That's
effect.
why I'm glad.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, that's kind of far from. But anyway.
How interesting. Well, I guess, using electricity might be, and just stimulating the nerve directly might be better than giving generic drugs that can. But instead of taking drugs that are going to have other systemic effects, you're going to be specifically stimulating this one system.
Yeah.
But yeah,
you guys have done TDCS, right? Where the very, very slight current. Okay, you guys have talked about that before.
We've talked about it, yeah.
It's the neurons fire just a little bit quicker.
Transcranial direct current stimulation.
Indeed.
I'm doing it now.
All sorts of interesting studies coming out related to just zapping yourself. Not very hard.
Yeah. Gotta lick the 9-volt.
Lick a 9-volt. That'll do it. No, it's not really going to help your math abilities.
It's what cures you.
Oh my goodness. Quick stories before we get out of here. Weak forces, van der Waals. We talked about geckos sticking to the wall last week. Van der Waals forces. They also hold together some asteroids. Some asteroids are just little gravel piles, rubble piles that have condensed together, and it's van der Waals forces that hold these little tiny bits of gravel and debris that have bumped into each other in their galactic adventures and get them to stick together. So it could also explain why certain why certain asteroids break apart the way that they do when they enter our atmosphere, because those forces are very weak, and so the friction from our atmosphere would cause greater deterioration of these kinds of rubble pile asteroids than others. But van der Waals forces, asteroids, that's a new one. Also, birds. Birds migrate, winter, summer, summer, winter. Old birds do it, and they get in, they launch, they go, they get to wherever they're going to find nesting sites, and for springtime, get a good nesting site, get a mate. Younger birds, people haven't really known how they get to where they're going because they haven't made the journeys before. This is the first year of their life. They leave the nest, they go to the wintering grounds, they get to the wintering grounds, and then, oh my gosh, how do I get back? Well, it turns out this recent study
found that the path they took was exactly where you would be able to get with a Eurail pass.
Kind of.
I was going to
Exactly.
say
They are having the spring returning juvenile birds take a little vacation. They come back like 2 weeks after the adults. They get back to the breeding grounds later than the adults. They take 50% longer in the time they spend traveling. They just kind of get places. They spend more time hanging out and eating. They don't just get there. And it could be a good strategy because they're figuring the route out and learning it a little bit more specifically. They've got the route down, but they don't have to compete with the experienced adults who are going to get all the mates anyway. So, why try? So they take their year.
I'm going to backpack through Europe for a while.
Exactly.
Is this an example of crystallizing your knowledge, though?
Eurail's too
Okay, it's
expensive.
winter.
The young
Straight
birds
there.
can't afford it anymore.
That's where we're going to end up. We might as well go directly there.
Yeah, the great thing about this study, too, is that they did put backpacks on the birds to track them.
That is adorable.
Little birdie geolocator devices, kind of like backpacks. Yeah. And then, Neanderthals and humans, we've talked about it before. They might have coexisted for more than 5,000 years. Plenty of time for us to get together and share our genetic material. And finally, North Carolina State University researchers have finally figured out how to stimulate a moth so that they can turn it into a remote control moth.
Finally. When will my remote control moth get here?
Yeah, hopefully soon.
The back of a magazine so many years ago.
Yeah, they can monitor the electromyographic signals, so the signals from the moth's muscles during flight that the moth uses to tell the wings what to do, and so they can monitor those, and they can also actually use that information to tell the moths what to do with their wings during flight. So the researchers, quote, "We're optimistic that this information will help us develop technologies to remotely control the movements of moths in flight."
Oh, and I forgot what I was wondering. I teased out at the beginning. This is children with autism have extra synapses in the brain, coming from a lack of pruning during childhood. So we all develop these little neuron synapses. They grow and they grow, and we prune them back too. We're constantly getting rid of extraneous neurons, but with synapses. But within the brains of autistic children, there appears to be much less pruning going on, and this perhaps having too many of the paths that may be beneficial to have pruned and cut back is part of the deficit of autism.
Interesting. Blair,
Also
did you have
explains why there's such a prevalence in the family of autistic children of really high-functioning people, or people who are able to deal with tremendous amounts of information. It's sort of one of those scalar things, but autism tends to happen in families that also will have somebody who is, say, a doctor or somebody who can handle vast amounts of information with seeming ease.
Right.
Nice.
Blair, did you have some quick stories?
Yeah, first of all, I wanted to answer how they weighed out the ovaries of the spiders, because I figured it out.
Uh-huh.
They did a good old-fashioned dissection. They just dissected these these 29 individuals out of the pack, they picked them. Everyone else's, their bodies ruptured after drying. Bummer. But these 29, they dissected and they took out the ovaries and they weighed them.
There you go.
There you go. You can do that apparently.
You can
So-
dissect a spider and harvest its ovaries. Things
Yeah.
you did not know.
Yeah.
Kids,
And then I have a couple.
try this one at home.
I have a couple stories, which I always enjoy when scientists find something that we kind of were like, really? Did we need to figure that out? Okay, we did. So, first of all, sufficient food is vital for functioning sperm in rams. So, if you're not getting enough nutrients, your reproductive cells don't do as well. Not surprising.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I need to eat well. I'm not supposed to be feeding.
That's right.
Never mind.
Eat well. Feed your
Eat
ram.
well, feed your reproductive cells. So then the other one, which is kind of, I think everyone should look at this study themselves because I have some questions about it, but I wanted to address it real quick, that they looked at what causes hangovers. And a new study suggests that has nothing to do with dehydration. And drinking water with booze won't help with a hangover. That's not saying it won't help with other things, but they're saying with the hangover, specifically the hangover, it won't help is what they're saying. And that actually it is the result of inflammation. And so guess what fixes inflammation? Ibuprofen and
booze.
aspirin. No, ibuprofen and aspirin. That's stuff you've been taking for your hangover anyway. So, that being said, I will still say you should drink water with your booze because you have your stomach to worry about, which is separate.
And possibly, if you are alternating between alcohol and water, maybe you're not drinking as much.
Yeah.
Just
You might not get as drunk either because that's another whole separate thing. So, there's still plenty of reason to drink water
You
while
know
you're
what
drinking
causes
alcohol.
a hangover? You know what causes a hangover? Drinking too much alcohol.
Yeah, exactly. So still
it.
drink water. This is not saying don't drink water. Drink water while you drink booze. But in the morning, pop some ibuprofen.
But whatever you do, continue drinking.
And whatever you do beyond that, continue listening to This Week in Science. Right?
Yeah.
Totally. Garth, thank you so much for joining us. Your book, Beyond IQ, it's available now. Where can people find information about you and it?
GarthSundem.com. I'm also at GarthSundem on Twitter. You'll find me if you search around a little bit.
Very nice. And I have to say, it's a fabulous, fabulous fun read. I'm gonna have fun trying some of these exercises.
Some are fun. I hope.
Little mental push-ups. Let's do that.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Shout outs to the people who have been helping us on Patreon. And of course, I was too busy with everything. I was too busy. I was just too busy, and I didn't put the link in on time. Give me 1 second here. Sorry about that. All right, here we go. Thank you to our Patreon supporters. Kevin Donald Wesley Ballard, Paul D. Disney, Sam Winsier, John Ratnaswamy, Rudy Garcia, Aubrey Burgess, Patrick Cohn, Stephen B., Mark Jason Dozier, Matthew Litwin, Eric Knapp, Andreas Agastad, and Jason Roberts, Shane and Tara Ginsberg, Brian Condren, Byron Lee, E.O., Bob Calder, Jared Lysette, Ulysses Adkins, Jake Jones, Cassie Lester, Chris Cross, Sarah Chavez, Stephen Sorowiec, Layla Amir Sadeghi, Paul Stanton, Marshall Clark, Charlene Davidson Henry, Violated Gorilla, Don Komarechka, Randy Mazuka, Ed Dyer, Tony Steele, Larry Garcia, Kevin Parachan, Jim Drapeau, Darren Lute, Tara Payne, Alex Wilson, Daryl Lambert, John H. Maloney, Jason Olds, Gordon Grant, James, Paul West, Lauren Lang, Thomas Mikinen, Alec Doty, Illumi Lama, Nick Gradwell, Dan Rambo, Dougal Campbell, TMRO, Miko Pakula, Craig Porter, Adam Mishkan, Jason Martin, Marjorie Scott Lajewski, Philip Shane, Tyler Harrison, Ben Rothig, Colombo Ahmed, and Gary Swinsberg. Thank you, everyone, for all of your support. And next week, the show will go on. I will not be here. I'm taking a little vacation. But Justin and Blair will be holding the house down, bringing you the science, broadcasting live online at 8 p.m. Pacific time on twis.org/live. And you can watch and join our chat room. Don't worry if you can't make it live, though. You can also watch it online. Past episodes are available at youtube.com/thisweekinscience, or you can listen at twis.org. And don't forget to tell a friend about TWIS and check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/thisweekinscience.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. We hope you enjoyed the show. TWIS is also available as a podcast. Just Google This Week in Science in your iTunes directory. Or if you have a mobile device, you can search for us there. TWIS for Droid app in the Android, TWIS in the Apple.
For more information on anything you've heard here today, show notes will be available on our website, www.twis.org, that's TWIS.org, where you can also make comments and start conversations with the hosts and other listeners.
Or you can hit us up directly. Email Kirsten at thisweekinscience.com, Justin at twistminion@gmail.com, Blair at blairbaz@twis.org. Just be sure to put TWIS, TWIS, somewhere in your subject line, or your email will be spam filtered into oblivion. You can also hit us up on the Twitter, where we are at TWIScience, at Dr. Kiki, at JacksonFly, and at Blair's Menagerie. We love your feedback. If there's a topic you would like us to cover, address, suggestion for an interview, a haiku that came to you in the night, please let us know.
We'll be back here next week, and we hope you'll join us again for some more great science news.
And if you've learned anything from tonight's show, remember,
It's all in your head.
This week in science. This week in science. This week in science. This week in science, it's the end of the world, so I'm setting up shop, got my banner unfurled. It says the scientist is in, I'm gonna sell my advice, show them how to stop the robots with a simple device. I'll reverse global warming with a wave of my hand, and all it'll cost you is a couple of grand. 'Cause this week's science is coming your way. So everybody listen to what I say. I use the scientific method for all that it's worth, and I'll broadcast my opinion all over the earth. 'Cause it's This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 I've got one disclaimer, and it shouldn't be news, that what I say may not represent your views, but I've done the calculations and I've got a plan. If you listen to the science, you may just yet understand that we're not trying to threaten your philosophy. We're just trying to save the world from jeopardy. Jeopardy. And This Week in Science is coming your way. So everybody listen to everything we say, and if you use our method instead of rolling a die, we may rid the world of toxoplasma gondii. 'Cause it's This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 I've got a laundry list of items I want to address, from stopping global hunger to dredging Loch Ness. I'm trying to promote more rational thought, and I'll try to answer any question you've got. But how can I ever see the changes I seek when I can only set up shop 1 hour a week? This Week in Science is coming your way. You better just listen to what we say, and if you've learned anything from the words that we've said, then please just remember it's all in your head. 'Cause it's This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This week in science, 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 science. This week in science, this week in 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 science.
And that ends another episode of This Week in Science. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for joining us. Now for the post show. Drama-rama, super fun. Yeah, a dinosaur that eats staples. It's nice.
What? Oh, mine? He's not quite a dinosaur.
Ugh.
Oh no, our guest had to leave. I was going to ask him about poker.
I know. I'm sure
There's poker in here.
He said he gets up early, so I'm sure he was ready to go home.
It's in here. You wanna hear how to?
I already have a technique. I don't look at my cards. When playing Hold'em, I do not look at my cards. I wait till the flop.
How to?
Oops. How to? I squeeze your brain. Eat it. I really love my little brain.
I think the hangover thing's largely a genetic deal too.
I don't know. I definitely have different.
Well, if it's inflammation,
Depending on.
And you're less likely.
Inflammation. Yeah, if it's inflammation, it's how well your body deals with things that cause inflammation. And so that is going to be your immune system. It's going to be genetically determined. It's also going to be determined based on, your stress levels at a particular time. Are you like super high stressed and like are your steroid hormones, cortisol, like are things high that would tend to lead to more inflammation and a worse hangover? Are they, have you been getting enough sleep? Do you eat your leafy greens, your cruciferous vegetables?
Yeah. And with all of those variables
Yeah.
and a lot of experimentation, I don't get them. I never
How to
really
panhandle.
have. I've never gotten hangovers
That's
with any
nice.
sort of consistency. I mean, once in a really long while, it can happen, but then people get headaches too occasionally. Like, it's about the same frequency. It's rare.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Exceedingly rare.
I found it. How to beat suckers at poker.
I did have a little alcohol last night, and I did not have a hangover day.
I had a little alcohol too, and I also did not have a hangover.
I had a little alcohol Saturday night as well. I did have a hangover waking up, so I just decided to drink more champagne
Now, there's
on Sunday.
sometimes there's a
Solid
particular
Solid plan. It just delayed the hangover till Monday. It's not a good idea.
I'm gonna repeat, Whiskey Renegade. I do not suggest not drinking water.
Yeah.
I don't suggest it.
Just drink
I
water.
do.
It's good
I do.
for you.
If you're planning on a lifelong dedication to alcohol consumption, it's sort of like training a camel.
I like your one subject test, though. Thanks, Identity 4. I thought it was a good show, huh? Good show. Garth is so great. Every time I talk to him,
body.
good talk.
You can train over many years. You can teach your body to withdraw enough water from beer that you don't need to actually drink water during the day. You just need to drink enough beer at night, and you'll be fine.
Justin, do you want to know how to beat suckers at poker?
I don't want anybody else to know how to beat suckers at poker. Let me
Okay,
put it
fine.
that
I won't read it.
way. Well, tell me what the suckers view
No.
on how to beat suckers. What? Why won't? Hey, you want to play some poker?
Now, after I'm finished reading this, sure.
Okay, read that, and then let's play some poker.
I love poker.
Like my new hair.
Yeah. Kiki, while we're
It's amazing.
gone, we agreed to play strip poker live on the air
I love
for
my
the
hair.
for a fundraiser.
I'm not playing strip poker.
What?
I
It's
think
for
my
the
headphones are
fundraiser.
gonna
It's for the
fit
good
over this
science.
hair. I got it.
We'll even
I
let
got
you
it.
count the fake hair.
Got
as
one
the
ear.
article
Got it on one ear.
If we get to $5,000 per episode, no.
Wait, what's the...
I will not play strip poker.
Why not?
No.
It's for science. It's a good cause.
No. No. I'm not even going to talk about that one. Here, look, I've got, this is my new look. That's my new look.
It's good.
Ready
That's
to work. Yeah.
I like it.
Very Beekman's world somehow.
Mm-hmm. I love Beekman.
I love
Huh?
Beekman.
Whatever happened to Beekman? What's he up to?
Beekman went back to his original career,
Which was?
a puppeteer.
That's awesome.
Really?
Yes, Beekman was a puppeteer.
Wow.
hmm He specialized in the ancient art of those paper puppets, those silhouette puppets.
Oh. Interesting. Interesting.
I think I could just be making that up. Somebody's got to Google it now. I think that's what Beekman did. And as I get older, I less and less trust the functioning of my brain. Like, there's an answer for everything in my brain. I just no longer know if I should rely upon it.
Yeah, maybe not.
Somebody Google the Beekman thing. Or maybe I can do it. I have a computer here.
So, Rights for Robots is saying in 1689 the average British adult drank over 100 gallons of beer. Today the figure is 15 gallons. Is there any truth to the idea that beer used to contain more nutrients and it was also safer than water, and so people drank it instead of water?
Yes.
Or did people just drink more beer because
It was
natural selection?
It was definitely more widely available than clean water.
People who drank beer survived better because they drank more beer and less of the available horrible water supply.
Yeah, well, it's like you go to Mexico, drink the beer, don't drink the water. I'm sure that's not the case everywhere. Never go to the salsa bar.
Paul Zaloom. All right, we're clicking on the... There he is, there's Beekman.
Oh, what was it?
Screen share.
What was
Screen
it?
share.
Was it Larry in Michigan? Larry? Is it Larry? Are you still in the chat room? Yes, Larry. So I saw your comment earlier saying that you have been donating on Patreon and you had not received a patch yet. It was because they had not been mailed. But now they have been mailed.
Unofficial mayor of Coney Island. Oh no, he gave advice to the unofficial mayor of Coney Island. His solo work, he utilizes found object animation, in which he takes objects as varied as coffee pots and humidifiers and turns them into elements of political satire.
Can I just show you for a second the length of my my receipt from the post office?
Oh, yay!
I went to the post office. I have a meter-long receipt.
Wait, we got to go find this. He produced a film called The Great Wars of the Californias, recounting a fictitious war between Los Angeles and San Francisco, released in 2003. What?
Sounds
How do we not? How can we this week in Science Theater 3000 this?
Oh, that would be fun.
I want Paul Zaloom. Where's Paul Zaloom? Where is he? We got to get him on the show.
Let's get him on the show.
Let's get him on the show. Can we get him on the show?
He's one of the reasons that I loved science as a child.
Occupation, puppeteer and actor. Puppeteer came first. Brain still works. Nice.
Thanks, Gord. Yeah, Blair, your backdrop's still up.
It worked. What do you guys think? Better than the bedroom?
The bedroom? It's always a fun backdrop. Interesting.
Paul Zaloom, if you're out there, we want you on the show. We want you to be a guest.
Maybe Beekman watches
Even if you're not out there.
That would be awesome.
Not as, but you don't have to get in the car. You don't have to be Beekman. I'm
No, no.
actually more interested in your
Yeah.
puppeteer. And this war between San Francisco and Los Angeles sounds brilliant. Oh, we gotta see this movie. How come I don't have this movie?
What would I do if there were a real war? I would break the aqueduct
Yeah,
Going
that's smart.
between San
They're
Francisco
all
and
done.
LA. Just
They're all
no,
done in 48
that's
hours.
it. We're just not going to give you water. Sorry.
Wait a sec. Hold on a second. That's
Right?
not San Francisco's aqueduct. That's the
No, it's
Central
not.
Valley's aqueduct. That's our aqueduct, baby.
But it's
It's
No.
ours to break.
No.
It's
That's
from the
our
San Francisco
negotiating
Bay
tool.
watershed.
Just because you're
Justin.
in Northern California, you
Justin?
think you own it all because you're San
Yeah.
Francisco. Guess what we're doing? We're blowing up the bridge.
You just
Have fun
it's called-
ferrying.
Hey,
to
Justin.
reality. What?
Justin, you go for the aqueduct at the point where it starts going over the hill or over the mountains.
You think
Like
you
right
have
past
water?
Bakersfield.
Oh, but
You
there's
don't
no water in San Francisco.
Don't affect the valley at
There's
all.
no fresh water in San Francisco. We could turn you off too.
It's called the San Francisco Bay watershed.
And it's dried up, and you rely so heavily on Central Valley water
Not
that
dried
if we
up.
turned off the spigot, that thing disappears within a
Not
month.
dried up.
It is
and
drying
in
up.
fact,
You are at the lowest. You've pretty much taxed that thing beyond belief with your metropolitan area, and you are aqueducting water from back east. We'll call it back east. Yeah. No, we got the water supply because we're right in the nexus.
Well,
where
the
all
San
water
Francisco
moves.
Bay watershed still 40% of it goes to LA. Still.
Yep.
So LA would get hurt
Yep.
by us getting rid of that.
All right, I need to find this movie. Hang on a second. Where can I? Ooh,
Well, I'm going to be right back. 2 seconds.
I'm gonna find it on the YouTube.
Bye-bye. Where's she going? Huh, he performs as Beekman still in Beekman live stage shows. Thanks, Fungaman.
Oh, there's too many great wars. Everybody thinks their war was great. Look at all these great wars. Great war of this, great war of that. There can't be that many great wars. I don't think any of them are really that great if you think about it.
None of them were great. They're awful.
Shoot. Well, it hasn't gone to the YouTubes yet. Where else can this be found? All right, we're getting Zoom updates. Red Design performed 11 full-length one-man shows, including Fruit of the Loom, Sick But True, Mighty Nice, and The Mother of All Enemies. The latter being a shadow puppet show featuring traditional Midwest Asian comic puppet character. Yeah, this is what I know. I know my brain is useful. But where is this movie and why haven't I seen it? In Smog and Thunder, The Great War of the Californias. Oh, where can I see? Oh, I don't get to see it. Can't just. I got press materials. I got. Here's a trailer. Trailer's over 7 megabytes. Yeah. Okay. Play it. Play it. Play it. Okay. Is that loaded? Can't tell if it's loaded. Here it comes. Ooh. Slim Jims and Miller Lite. I love this already.
You found it?
Yes. Isolated Ozzy Beekman did a kids science show that was super awesome, filled with props and high energy. And like 1992. Beekman's World.
Yeah, it wasn't one of the influential shows in my life because I was already 92. I was already, I was in college. I'd started college by then. So it didn't inspire me the way it probably inspired Blair.
What now?
Beekman's World.
Oh, I loved Beekman's World.
Yeah,
Because it was a
I'm with you,
90s
actually.
incarnation.
I
Like
had
all
to
of a
discover
sudden,
it.
people started talking about Beekman's World, and I'm like, I never saw
Yeah,
Beekman's World.
I discovered it with my children.
Yeah.
In '92, I was touring with Nirvana, or I was just really high in Seattle. It's all fog and mist. Timey-wimey stuff.
Old timey-wimey
Place.
stuff. I feel like such a hipster with this wig.
So this is like a still shot art movie. This is like what I want to do with the feedback thing. It's kind of brilliant, really, even though somebody else also has already done it.
Ooh, I still have to record my thingy.
Wait, I got it.
I remember for car trips, I had this Beekman's World like fact game that was kind of like they called it, I think, Brain Quest later, but he had something like that first, and it was this flippy thing, and you got to ask about like how many swimming pools could you fill with the amount of socks, the amount of sweat that is caught by your socks every year, or something like that. It was weird science facts. That's my story.
I've muted myself because I'm typing and I didn't want to annoy everybody. That's why I wasn't responding. I was listening to your story. I am listening. Maybe I could be the next Justin Bieber.
Yeah.
Black-haired Justin Bieber. Joan Jett. I don't know. Oh, I have to mute myself again. More typing.
The ultimate calamity in a state strewn with calamities. Conflagration. Oh, he's using all the good words. In smog and thunder. Okay, so I gotta see this movie. Find it somewhere.
Oh my god. I just saw a second of Beekman's World on YouTube. It's quite the blast from the past.
I think I've seen all the episodes multiple times within the last 5 years because my kids got really into it, and that's all they wanted to watch for the longest time was Beekman's World.
There's so many 90s-esque references. Like, kids don't really play board games that much anymore, right?
Wait, what? What's a board game?
Yeah.
Well, they still do. It's just that they don't require a setup anymore because they're called video games.
Do you think they would get the joke, when you pass gas, do you get $200?
Maybe, maybe not. That's it.
Probably not.
Yeah, that's it.
I enjoyed it. Anyway, what do we think? Do we like the backdrop idea? I think I do. I think I need a clothesline. I'm gonna use a clothesline so it's more heavy duty, so it's not a piece of yarn. Because right now I could pull on this and it would come down, and then I'll get something fun to go behind me instead of just gray.
I think you need something fun.
Yeah, but I think it's better. I think it's a step in the right direction.
Well, I don't know if I agree.
I'm going to go to the fabric store this weekend and see if I can pick up something fun in the meantime.
I think you'd be better off with a shower curtain.
Yeah, or that.
That has, like...
fish on it.
Horse... what do you call them?
Trees?
Horsefish? What's the...
Seahorses. That, or they do have, like, rainforest scene...
jellyfish?
Shower curtains. I'm just going to see. I'm going to go to, like, Bed and Bath or something. And
I think you would do better, though, just finding, like Like moving to the moon like I did, or, to the rainforest.
I would like to do that. I would like to move to like Costa Rica or the Marianas Trench.
Yeah.
We'll work on it.
Mhm.
Let's see. Maybe Noah, Marianas Trench images.
I don't think the Marianas Trench would be a very good backdrop somehow.
Really?
I just can't picture it, but maybe you could find a picture that would help me picture it.
Check this out. I'm putting it in the chat room.
Ooh. Pretty good, pretty nice. Can't really tell if that's a trench or photos from Gaza. It looks very, you could be in a war zone, really, with that picture. It's kind of hard looks like smoke in those vents. It's not very colorful. I think you could do better. I think you could do better.
Probably. I'm looking. Oh my goodness. I could do it from here.
No, I don't think having a picture of your bed being made. Well, then you wouldn't have to make it anymore. Right? You just take a picture once, the bed made, the room nice and neat. Then you put up the backdrop and you never have to clean your room again.
Ooh.
Whoa, hey, what's that?
How about this? I really like this.
Ooh, look, I like the Science Island. That's pretty worthy.
The island.
Mm-hmm.
I like the one I just sent.
Yeah, that's fun. That is fun. I'm going to move this image over next to Blair. Oh, yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah, that would look really nice.
What are you guys doing?
Pens. We're looking at backdrops.
You guys are looking
I
at
put one in the, look at the last link that I put in the Dealy chat room. I have to go to bed soon. I have to wake up at 5:30.
Girl.
That would be nice. I like the Blair in a coral reef kind of a thing.
And it's black.
Feather star.
Uh-huh.
That's cool. That is very neat.
Yeah, with like the starry background because there's bioluminescent stuff floating around, little planktonies.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you, Blair. Bioluminescent.
How about...
And also rough and corally.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Fungaman green screen, and you can have them all.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
have the
If
technology
you don't get the
for that.
lighting right and you don't get it right, it can look funky. Sometimes it just doesn't work right. I don't know. Volcano behind your head.
We gotta vote for the volcano. Volcano. Hang on, I didn't move the volcano.
I could do this one. I like that one a lot.
The volcano, because you're out at sea, makes it look like you'd be coming from a houseboat.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Waterfall backdrop.
The volcano is a pretty good one. I'm just wondering, like, if you're sitting in the middle.
You'd have to do this the whole time.
You're just in front of the... Yeah, and then depending on how big it is and where it's seated, like, it just could be sky behind you, and that's it. So, which isn't bad necessarily. I don't know.
How about...
That waterfall looks fake.
Yeah. It's too pretty. It can't be real.
Something's looks edited in there somehow.
Bandagari Rainforest. Scuba diver? Yeah, do you want to be underwater? Do you want to be on a boat? Do you want to be in the sky? Do you want to
I could
be
be
in
on
the
a
forest?
boat.
Just kind of like the perspective that a viewer would be getting of you.
Wow. There's a lot of different things out there.
Yeah, that's what I think, Gord. You want something that's not noisy. It's like I think the rainforest would be too noisy. There's too much
Right.
stuff.
That's why the reef might be nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that
Blackness.
one. Yeah, and you kind of look like you might be a mermaid. Like that's what sort of like seeing you, because it's only going to be a top view of you anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can picture like fins beneath, right?
Right.
That's pretty fun.
Oh, this is funny. Where's my volume?
Tonight's thematic. Ah, my dulcet darling.
Oh, I hear the Princess Bride.
Tomorrow morning, your favorite channel.
It's the trailer for The Princess Bride recut as a horror movie.
Oh no. That makes me sad.
Where's the Google button on this?
It's pretty funny.
Ooh, there's this one. Whoa. Look at all those sea pens.
The next thing you lose will be your left eye, followed by your right.
Of course.
To the pain. I
To
leave
the
you in
pain.
anguish. I'm going to share this link because it's kind of funny.
No, no. Just listening to it, I'm sad.
Oh wait, I think I figured out what we need.
The sound of ultimate suffering. This is not for The Princess Bride, but The Princess Died.
Ah.
That was kind of funny.
Oh God.
Made me
I
laugh.
just broke my... Oh, I found it. Oh yeah. Found the backdrop.
Yeah, let me see it.
Let's see. What do you want? Do you want a link?
Yeah.
Let's see if I can find the link to this. Let's see. Here we go. Oh, that's... You'll have to click on the... I don't know what kind of website this is, so I apologize. This is okay. This is the perfect backdrop for Blair, and I thank the
Let me see
internet
it.
for providing anything the moment you request it.
Where is it? Wait, can you screen share it?
I put the link in the chat room, Kiki.
Here.
Did I click on the wrong thing?
The bottom one.
The bottom one, that it just went. It just went
Here's the screenshot.
there we go.
Panda squirrel.
This is
Panda
not real,
squirrel.
is it? No.
The nut hacker blabber, blabbler, rabbitous fragger.
Thank you, Internet, for providing absolutely anything
Related species:
in any form.
zebra and skunk squirrels.
The panda squirrel, ladies and gentlemen.
Named Nuthacker Blabler.
TWIS minions. I think I need this on something.
The panda.
Oh, we should make TWIS.
Panda squirrel shirts. Where did Blair go?
I'm here.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, I think we need TWIS merch.
It prefers
with a
running.
panda squirrel on it.
So let me tell you about this squirrel. It prefers running to climbing and seems to spend most of its time on the ground foraging for seeds and insects between rocks and under fallen leaves. It does not spend most of its time burrowing. It does not.
It won't have sex, right?
I think this is Blair's new favorite animal.
It is similar to the Swiss funk squirrel. Seriously, the Swiss funk squirrel?
No nests have been found.
Intumesco. Fateo intumesco. Oh my gosh. No nests have been found. Fateo infamesco. I have to share you. Fateo. Oops, I hit the wrong one. Darn it.
This is, of course,
That's the Swiss babbler.
It's not actual. There's no actual zebra squirrel or skunk squirrel. These are.
African
panda
zebra
squirrels, right?
blabbler.
But the panda squirrel's legit.
Cursor. What?
I wish this was real.
Right?
Oh my goodness, that made my day.
April Fool's Day joke. Wah, wah. Seriously, these are funny.
Oh yeah, I have to do a squirrel next for my art. Because I did a panda.
Ooh, a squirrel would be good. Panda
Yeah,
squirrel.
I'll do a squirrel.
I think you should do the panda squirrel.
I'll do the panda squirrel.
Yeah, it's a new social avatar, the panda squirrel.
Okay, I think I found my backdrop.
The TWIS panda squirrel.
Here we go.
Yeah? No, no.
That's pretty solid.
I wish I could think of something called that's like Rickrolling, but for photos of the blobfish.
Right. Ooh.
I want to make
start
that a thing.
a blobfish meme.
Yeah.
Somebody
Been
says
blobbed.
somebody says something you don't like, you just send them a picture of the blobfish. Blobfish is not amused.
Perfect.
Blobfish is not amused. Oh, today's birthdays. It's Monty Harper's birthday. Happy birthday, Monty Harper. So, last night, one of the most hilarious things ever happened.
Do tell.
I'll see if I can show one of the pictures. So we heard this ringing, the doorbell. There was knock, 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 and then ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, and we all ran. We ran downstairs, and we got. There were a bunch of stuffed animals at our front door. We were doorbell ditched. Doorbell ditched by stuffed animals. A couple of giraffes and a couple of polar bears.
That's a great pick.
So funny. The kids freaked out. We opened the door and they're like, "Oh my gosh! Stuffed animals! Wow, they're huge!" It's pretty funny.
The blobfish is amazing.
The blobfish is not amused.
We are not amused.
We are not amused. What did Web 21 find? In Smog and Thunder. The Great War of the Californias on Amazon Prime. Or is it Prime? Yeah, did you see the link, Justin? Where'd Justin go? The link to Amazon Instant Video.
Oh.
Rent or buy with one click. Rent standard def. And it's Amazon. In Smog and Thunder. Web 21 found it. Looks like.
I think that first one I found is my favorite with the little twinklies in the background. Good deal.
Which
Twinkle,
one?
twinkle. The very
Background,
first one.
please.
Yeah.
Background.
Yeah, I like that too. Or something like it if that one's not free.
It's from Noah.
Take it. Steal it. Use it. As long as you're an American. You can use it.
Yeah.
National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. United States Department of Commerce.
Proud to be an American.
That means we can have it, right?
Yep.
Well, send me your link for the thing you did.
Me? Oh.
Yeah. I want to see it.
All right, here we go. Let me find it. I think I talked to them through the Google Mails.
Ooh,
Bless you.
that was a yawn.
Yeah, you probably send it sometime.
Ooh, that was a nice one. The flying squirrel. That's a great one. SMB and a fillet. Oh my gosh. Flying
Gross.
squirrel. You could be flying squirrel landing on my head.
Yucky.
What yucky?
The flying squirrel.
Why?
It was really badly taxidermied, for one.
What do you mean?
I actually have no idea.
It looks taxidermied. Yeah, I don't think that
There it
squirrel's
is.
alive, is it? Oh, maybe it is.
Blobfish. It doesn't think you're funny. That is what you need. Right there, Blair.
Except it's the wrong your.
XXO bot. Oh, yeah. Darn it.
All right.
Hate to be the bearer of bad news, but
How do I search within my searches? Search within my. I need to find my search within my. Here we go.
So we have. Come on.
Okay. Oh, here we go. I got it. I found it.
So you can go to memegenerator.net, blobfish, and you can create your own. There are some meme generator thing out there, and you can, with the image,
So
you
yeah,
can
this
create a
was
blobfish image.
this was less than $200. Although if I were to do it right, I would have added another like $40 to make it just a little bit wider, so that my camera didn't have to be so close. Let's see. I'm gonna put a link in that chatty room. And then everybody listening at home can go get their own.
yay.
We should all have our own personalized backdrops in life, don't you think?
I do.
You have a good backdrop.
I made it myself. Got my own backdrop. Got a lab coat. Got a periodic table of elements from France.
I did the polypoplin fabric,
Hmm.
which is a polyester fabric of sorts.
Fabric printing.
Oh yeah, or backdrop printing, I think is what I did.
Oh. What was it? Not vinyl, not mesh. What did you? Oh, backdrop printing. I see. Polypoplin.
Mhm.
Most popular.
It is at that.
Oh my gosh, how big should it be?
I did mine, I think 6 foot by 6 foot, but because of the cinematic frame in which we actually sit, I should have done it 6 foot height by 8 foot width
Mm,
to capture the most of the image possible,
right.
which will add, let's see, $45 to the overall thing, which is a lot for just a couple of feet. I mean, what the heck? But that's how it works out.
Grommets.
Go with the grommets every 2 feet or so. Let me see. I did 2, 3, 4 grommets across. Of course, you're going that 2 foot bigger. You'd want 5 grommets atop, and still the 4 grommets down the sides. You want grommets all around though. It just makes it easier to installate. So grommet quantity.
Grommet
Yes.
position.
What did I say? It was 4. 4 times 5. 20. You need 20
It's
grommets.
saying it is suggesting a grommet every 24 inches,
Yeah. So you need
which
20
means
grommets in all.
14 grommets.
No.
That's what it calculated.
Ignore it.
20?
Yeah.
Check my meme, yo.
I'm keeping it.
There we go.
What do we think about this backdrop, Kiki? Do you think I should just buy a shower curtain?
You
This
could
is a
just buy
lot
a
of work.
shower curtain, but yeah, it's whatever you want it to look like behind you. I don't know. A shower curtain might not be exactly the look you're gonna want behind you. I like the idea of you making something.
Okay. Well.
Hems on all 4 sides. Absolute necessity. But that's already, I think
Yeah.
that's the default here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
What's placement mean? Oh, never mind.
All sides.
What's seamless vinyl mean?
I don't know. I didn't do it.
Oh, no, it's not. I don't need it.
Yeah.
Shipping.
Shipping should be free.
Yeah, it's free.
Nice.
It would be here in 2 weeks.
Well, no. So it will be there in 2 weeks if you used one of their default images that they've already got for you to choose from. But because you're uploading a custom image, down towards the bottom, artwork, use my provided artwork, and upload my downloaded JPEG. They will first, a couple days from now, probably Monday, send you a proof of what it would look like. You would say, yes, that's how I intended this image to look on the thing. And then the process starts. They got to actually make one. They can't just pull it off a rack. So you're looking at about a month before you would have it.
That's fine. I have to find the image again. Oh, here it is.
So, recent study finds that women have unseated teenage boys in as the largest group of gamers.
Wait, huh?
Yeah. Adult female gamers have unseated boys under the age of 18 as the largest video game playing demographic in the U.S.
No way. Oh,
Yes.
okay. Okay.
Men
Yes.
still account for the majority of the U.S. gaming population. The number of women playing games on both consoles and mobile devices is
Mobile device.
up to 48%.
Okay. Sorry, Candy Crush and Farmville do not video games constitute at this point in video game evolution. I'm sorry. No.
What?
Those
What
don't
constitutes
count.
a game, huh?
That
What's
doesn't
a game?
count.
It's not.
Candy Crush is not a video game per se. That is just a
Oh, so now
mindless
you're
waste
missing-
of humanity's resources.
I'm not going to argue too much with that, but
That's not even. I do puzzles. Yeah, there's 4 pieces. Come on, stop. That's not a puzzle. It's barely Legos require.
why you gotta diss on women, huh?
Because no, I'm dissing on Candy Crush.
Why you
Somebody
gotta?
was telling me like, oh yeah, I'm like level 386 or whatever the heck it was, way up there, high number or something. I was like, oh, about how much time does it take you to complete a level? Oh, it averages, the harder ones, it's like 5 to 15 minutes. And then I pulled out the calculator and I did the math, and I showed them the week of their life that
They
they
had
could have written a
spent-
book. That
You
they
could
could
have
have gotten a
done
doctorate in
anything
something.
else.
The amount of time in their life they actually spent playing Candy Crush. Not that I would want that reversed and have done to me for any of my activities that are completely fruitless and producing anything of any sort of substance in my life. But still, it's Candy Crush, which is just stupid. Again, not that I would want that same insight applied to any other aspect of my life.
Of course not.
No. What's good for the goose is good for the goose, and the hell with y'all.
Mhm.
That's how I look at it. Gord, Farmville and Candy Crush are video games? Are you sure? Just because it's got an electronic interface, I'm still not convinced it's a video game. As a for instance, if I'm playing Monopoly on a console, I still think I'm playing a board game. If I play Risk on a video game console, I still feel like I'm playing a board game on a video game console. Right? I think if you're doing like the Farmville or the Candy Crush,
You're playing The Sims. That's a video game.
I think you're engaged in social begging. Sort of like being at a party and trying to get people to pay attention to you. But it's usually through pity. I've got to go do some work. Can you water my plants? Or the Candy Crush is just, it's like a reactionary, like it's a puzzle. It's like working with a puzzle. It's not a, maybe it's a video game. I don't. If that's what a video game is, then I don't play video games. I don't know what it is I do.
What do? I don't know what I do. I do what I do, and it is what it is. All right, you guys.
Mhm.
I'm going to go to bed
Why?
Yeah.
because I'm tired.
Of what? Us? That's what you're saying? You're tired of us.
No,
That's
my eyes
so
are red.
rude.
I'm tired. I'm just tired. Look at my hair.
Your hair is a mess. I will give you that.
My hair is a
You look like
mess. Oh my
you've had a rough
God.
day. Or
I just had such a rough day. Oh my God. I gotta go. You guys both good for next week?
Yeah, I think so.
Awesome.
As long as Justin will be there.
Where? Here? Maybe.
Here next
Most
week.
likely. Really good chance. They worked out. I'm sure next week will be just the same.
It'll be perfect. It will be perfect. Perfect.
All right, minions, thank you so much for hanging out with us in the after show.
And helping look for pictures for Blair's backdrop and
Which I may or may not purchase.
yeah.
We'll find that there's got to be some Patreon fundage that can get Blair a proper background. We've got to be able to pull that. That's got to be in the budget. We can't be forcing this poor girl to make her bed and be at the show on time every day.
And
It's
be
too much pressure.
concerned about the sheet falling on her head.
Yeah, it's dangerous conditions.
So much
It must
pressure.
be fixed.
I really don't want you to have to make your bed, Blair. Such stress. Oh my god.
No, I'm convinced that she's been late to the show just because, not because of work or traffic or anything else, because on top of everything else, she had to make the bed and get the
It
pillows
wasn't
just
the
right
computer.
and do all
I'm
that
not
stuff.
late.
Bed making.
I'm barely ever late.
And it's, I think, because of the bed.
Yeah. East Coast bedtime. West Coast bedtime. Good night. Thank you. I hope everyone has a fantastic week next week. I will see you after I return
Hooray.
from the desert.
Yes, thank you, Google Plus, for bringing the science hosts to the science audiences.
Yes, thank you, Google Plus, for working. Thank you, everyone in the chat room, for hanging out. Thank you, for everyone who's watching and is not in the chat room, for hanging out. And I do hope that we see you again next week, same time, same place, for everyone except me. Good
Hey,
night.
and you won't even see us. You're not even.
There might be satellite internet.
No, you're cut off from the rest of the world.
I'm cut off from I'm cut off from the world. It's really, yeah. I'm ready. Bye-bye.